AP Gov, here we go again. I'm going to go through the handouts real quick. We are on the section's called Federalism. We're going to go through these handouts that I gave y'all. Y'all should have had these yesterday. There we go. All right, so what is federalism? Okay, if you read it, you can go through it as I read through it. Okay. Federalism, okay, a system under the government which the national and the local governments, all right, they share power. It's called federalism. All right, it's highlighted. I suggest, if it's highlighted on this paper, I suggest you highlight it in your packet or your notebook, because more than likely it's going to be on the test, 100% actually. Okay, so know what the word federalism is. All right, so we're going to have powers that the federal government has, that state government has, and the ones they share together. Okay, so we got federalism. 2 court cases you have to know. Write them down somewhere. Okay, McCulloch versus Maryland, Gibbons versus Ogden. Y'all should have went over them. All right, in the videos through the PowerPoint. So I'm not going to go over them right now because you should already know what they are. But they will 100% be on the test. Okay, so the 3 types of powers. Okay, first we're going to go over, we got delegated, also known as enumerated. All right, delegated or enumerated are those belonging to the national government. For example, printing money, regulating interstate and international trade, making treaties, declaring war. All of these powers go to just the national government. Just think about it. Can North Carolina print their own money? No. Can South Carolina? No. Each state can't print their own money. It's a national power. Okay, declaring war. Well, it's the United States. Okay, not each state versus state. So they are called delegated or enumerated. All right, know those. Next, we got reserve powers. The best way I can tell you to remember this: it's reserved for the states. Best way to remember it. Reserved means reserved for the states. There's 3 powers that most states have. They can issue license. Just think about it. You got a certain kind of license. If you ever seen a different license from another state, okay, each state gets to decide on however they want to do it. Okay, for another thing, regulation of intrastate. Intra is different than interstate. Think about the interstate. I-40 goes from North Carolina to California. Intrastate means within the state. So any business that goes on within your state are reserved powers. All right, and then the responsibility to run and pay for federal elections. Then concurrent powers. Concurrent powers are those shared by the federal and the state governments. So these are the ones that share. Concurrent means share. All right. Collect taxes. Just think about it. If you've ever worked, you get a federal tax and a state tax. Okay? They share powers. There are things that they both do. The federal government collects taxes. State government does also. Build roads. Okay? Operate courts of law and borrow money. Those are the 4. I'm going to ask you the differences between delegated, reserved, and concurrent. The main things you're going to need to know, all right, delegated belongs to the national. Reserved for the states. And concurrent is things they share. And be able to give me an example of each one. Okay? Fair enough. Okay? Down here, supremacy clause. I will definitely know that. If there is ever a question between national law, or federal law and state law, it always goes to the higher court. Also, the higher law. Supremacy, the root word means supreme. Think about it. Which one is the supreme law? The higher one. So the supremacy clause says that in the Constitution, if there's a conflict, the federal law overrides the local law. Okay? Next, we got the federal government. Okay, there's about 3 key words you need to know here. Okay, and I went through all this through the PowerPoint, so you should know it. Okay, writ of habeas corpus, highlight it. Know what it means. Ex post facto, highlight it. Know what it means. Okay, I didn't highlight it over here, but it should be highlighted. Bills of attainder. Know what it is. Declare an individual you can't do it without giving a person trial. Okay, know that. All right. Also, know what grants in aid is. Okay. Alright. Know what the difference between a categorical grant and a block grant is. I will 100% guarantee you on the test Friday, you will be asked to know the difference between a categorical grant and a block grant. Okay, categorical grants, okay, are aid with strict provisions from the government and how the money will be spent. So, like the government gives a organization in the state money, and they tell them how to use it. Okay, they don't let them use it however they want to. Okay, block grants. Okay, block grants is the same scenario where the federal government gives money to an organization, and they can spend it however they want to help their organization. But categorical, just think categories. The government's going to categorize how you can spend your money. All right. So know the difference between categorical grants and block grants. Okay, that will also be on the AP test at the end of the year. Okay. All right. Next, read through the advantages of federalism versus disadvantages. All right, let's get into some big stuff. Okay. Separation of powers is huge. All right. We know already, we got the idea from Charles and Montesquieu. We know the legislative branch versus executive branch versus the judicial branch. Okay, you know you have the three branches. Here is a chart. It's a little hard to see, so I'm going to pull another chart up. If you're watching this video, which you should be, I'm going to check your notebook. You need to pause this video right now and copy down this chart right now. If you're watching this video, you should be pausing and you should be putting this chart in your notebook, because some of you ain't watching these videos. I'm going to check your notebook and make sure this chart is in your notebook. And if it's not, you are not going to get credit. So make sure this chart is in your notebook. Okay? We got the three branches. Quickly going over it. Legislative branch makes laws. Executive branch enforces the laws. Judicial branch judges the constitutionality of the law. Okay? So we got Congress, that's the House of Representatives and the Senate. Executive branch, which is the President, Vice President, Cabinet. And we got the judicial branch, which is your court system. District Court, Appeals Court, Supreme Court. Okay? So look at the arrows, and this is what can happen. This is called checks and balances. When the creators created the United States, they wanted to not allow one person to have so much power, also known as a dictatorship. Think about it, Hitler. All right. So they created three branches, so each branch can check each other. All right. So legislative branch. Remember, these are the people that make laws. Okay. They can impeach the president. They can override vetoes. They can reject appointments. That's like appointments, say, when the president appoints a new Supreme Court justice. Well, remember, the Senate gets to approve it. Okay? And they can refuse to approve treaties. What can the executive branch do? Remember, if the Congress passes a law, remember, the president can sign it, he can veto it, or do nothing for 10 days. Another thing he can do, he can appoint the judges. What can the judicial branch do? Okay, they can declare presidential actions unconstitutional. So if the president does something he ain't supposed to, he can say, the 9 justices can say, hey, you can't do this. That's unconstitutional. Okay, they can declare laws unconstitutional. Say Congress tries to pass a law taking away guns. Well, Amendment number 2 in our Constitution said you can't do that. So the Supreme Court will say, hey, this law can't happen. It's unconstitutional. Not happening. All right, and they can declare, and up here, the Congress can also impeach judges, can reject appointments of judges. On the test, listen, I'm going to have you draw this chart. That will be the last question on your test. Guarantee. Guarantee. Moving on. So you better have this in your notebook, and I would have this memorized. If you can memorize this chart, you will get at least probably a 2 on the AP final. This chart is huge. If you can memorize this chart and explain this chart, I'll guarantee there'll be at least 8 to 12 questions on the AP final. Okay? So this chart's huge. Checks and balances is big time. Okay? So we are on page amendment process. We got that. There we go. Amendment process. Okay? Remember, the Constitution, a proposed amendment must be introduced in Congress. Remember, 2/3 to pass an amendment. 2/3 got to pass it. Okay? Alright, this is the last little bit. This is huge. This is a big game changer. Okay? So, a proposed amendment wins when 2/3 majority of Senate in the House, which is Congress. Okay? So, think about our amendments. We have 27 of them. Okay? All 27. 2/3 of Congress has to agree on it for it to pass. Then to ratify. Ratify means approve. 3/4, which is 75% of each state has to approve it. 3/4 of all state legislators must approve it. So first Congress has got to approve it, then it goes to the 50 states. Then 75% of the state legislators, they have to approve it for it to become an amendment. That's why there's only 27. There's not many. Most states can't agree on all the same stuff. That's why we have state laws versus national laws. Delegated powers versus reserve powers. Remember? Makes sense. Okay? And make sure you look in your handouts over the summary. Okay? Look over the summary. Look over the key terms. You should have an idea what most of those key terms mean. Okay? So, you watched the video. You better make sure what's in your notebook is supposed to be in your notebook. I've told you a lot was on the test. Good luck. There's your handouts.